Hey there! Today we're going to talk about Colab. We're going to see how to create a new notebook. We're going to see a couple of shortcuts we can use. How do we run our code? How do we write text on Colab? And different techniques which will ultimately help you in solving assignments and writing code. Okay, so the first prerequisite for using Colab is that you should have a Google account. So like here I have a Google account. I can use Google Colab and I can save my notebooks on my drive. So it's prerequisite to have a Google account to use Google Colab. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to the colab.research.google.com, and what it opens is the main page, which gives us a lot of options over here. The Welcome to Collaboratory is a notebook that tells you about Colab and how you can start running and using the code, and I would suggest you go through it whenever you start this session on your own computer. But for now, let's make a new notebook. Okay, so a new notebook is going to be opened in any moment. Okay, so yeah, here we have a new notebook and it is untitled over here, untitled 0. So the first thing you should do is you should rename it into something meaningful, which should be first session of Colab. Okay, so the extension over here is the same extension for Jupyter Notebooks, which tells us that Colab is just a platform that enables us to run Jupyter Notebooks on cloud. Okay, so let's look at a couple of functions over here. This over here is a block, and this is a cell block for now, and we can use it to write code. We can also create different blocks which can either be cell or code. If we create a code block, it will be something similar, and which has an option over here which means to run the cell, and another way to run the cell is to press Shift plus Enter. Then if you want to create a text cell, we will select this option and a cell opens which enables us to write text, and these are the basic two functions. If you want to delete them, we have this icon over here which enables us to delete the cell, and we can delete them as far as forth. Okay, so these are the options you can select using your mouse, but whenever you're coding, no programmer should be selecting or navigating using the mouse. They should be able to do everything from the keyboard, which would ultimately increase productivity. So let's look at a couple of shortcuts. In editing, we have these couple of shortcuts over here. If you want to select all the cells, Control Shift plus A. If you want to delete a cell, Control plus M plus D. And same goes for replace, next, previous. If you want to undo a cell, it is Control plus M plus Z. And let's moving on to insert. If you want to insert a code cell, it is Control plus MB, scratch code cell, code snippet, and these are all the shortcuts for now. But the most important one is the code cell and the text cell. Okay, so you notice that there is no shortcut over here. Let's check it out why there is no shortcut over here. So we go to Tools and we go to Keyboard Shortcuts. Okay, so now we can see there are a lot of shortcuts over here, and we can add or remove shortcuts according to our own preference. So I'll leave this to you if you want to add or remove anything, or if you just want to use the default settings. I'm gonna go with default settings since I'm more comfortable with it. You can have your own preferences, or you can go with the default as well. Before we write code, let's look at creating a notebook which has more meaningful layout, which has more meaningful comments and headings. So let's see. So let's convert this cell into the text cell. Okay, so to convert this code cell into text cell, I'm going to use a keyboard shortcut, which would be Control plus M. So I'm going to press Control. Here we have converted, so I'm going to press Enter. I'm going to start writing stuff. So if you want to enter a heading, like a big heading, you have to use hash, and you can write heading 1. And on the right side, you can see the preview of the text. How will it be showing when you've presented? So after you've written down the text, or whether you have written down the code, So to run the cell, you have to press Shift plus Enter. And after pressing that, the heading will be displayed. And the other one, the other cell right now is the code cell. So let's convert it into the text cell and write down the subheading. So to write down a subheading, I've used the double hash. So after that, let's write heading 2. So as you can see, the preview on the right side shows that this is a heading that is smaller in title. So this is a subheading. So let's press Shift plus Enter and move on. Let's do the same thing with this one. And we can keep doing that. And this will show that how many headings you want to have. And you can continue doing this. So this is a subheading for this heading, and if I look at this would be a subheading to the above heading, right? So after you've written down these headings, we're going to go to the table section, and we're going to see that these headings are in the, you can say, a cascaded format, and I can navigate it through these table of contents as well. So this way you can specify a lot of things, and this way you can present your code in a much better way by giving meaningful headings. And later on we can see that this is another tool which you can use whenever you're preparing a notebook for this. Okay, so now we have seen how we can use the notebook to write down text and how we can present it in a meaningful way. Okay, so far we have seen how we can write headings and how we can write text, how we can convert a code cell into a text cell, and how we can convert a text cell into a code cell. So if you want to convert this heading 3 text cell into code cell, you will write Control MY, and here we have. So in this Python language, we will see later on in the course that this is what we call a comment. This over here is what we call a comment. By using hashes, we can write comments in our code. So we press Shift plus Enter to run the code, and if you want to add another cell below, a code cell, let's say, we press Control M plus B, and here we have written, we have created another code cell for this. So let's look at a couple of more functions. Over here we have the option of locating our notebook in the drive. Let me remind you that all these notebooks are saved in the Google Drive. So if you press this will show you in where exactly is this notebook located. So let's go. Another tab will open, and this will show you, okay, so this is my Google Drive over here, and we have a folder by default, this called the collaboratory notebooks, and we have all the notebooks over here. So this is where the notebooks will be saved by default. Okay, so let's say you want to create a separate folder to save all your notebooks for this particular course. So you navigate to your Google Drive and you right click in this area, and then you create a new folder. Let's rename it as Data Science Projects. A new folder will be created, so you navigate over here, and here you go again and do right click operation. Okay, so you navigate to more, and there's an option called Google Collaboratory. So you select this, and you will see that the same operation will be performed. A new notebook will be opened in the Google Collaboratory, but this time this notebook will be saved over here. So this is another way to create notebooks, and this is another way to make your overall pipeline of coding more structured. So I would suggest that for this course you create a separate folder where you will save all your notebooks which will be used for this course. And either way, if you have a separate Jupyter notebook, you can upload it over here. You can run it using Colab.